Attention, all South African seniors and their families. If you're over 60 and receiving the Sassa Old Age Grant, or if you have elderly loved ones who depend on these payments, what I'm about to share could directly impact your monthly income and payment schedule. The South African Social Security Agency is implementing significant changes to the old age grant system this July 2025, and missing these crucial updates could mean delayed payments, potential benefit interruptions, or even losing out on new opportunities that could increase your monthly grant amount. Here's what's happening right now. The current old age grant provides R280 per month to eligible seniors over 60. But new administrative procedures are being rolled out that will affect how and when you receive your payments. Recent reports indicate there have already been payment delays, including the May 2025 payment being postponed to Tuesday, May 6th, creating an unusual 5-week gap that strained many household budgets. But here's where it gets critical. The new rules coming this July aren't just about payment dates. They involve updated income verification processes, new documentation requirements, and potentially revised eligibility criteria that could affect your qualification status. With inflation impacting the cost of living and VAT increases threatening to erode the purchasing power of your grant, understanding these changes isn't optional. It's essential for your financial security. The qualification thresholds remain strict. If you're single, your monthly income cannot exceed R7,190, and for married couples, the combined income limit is R14,380. However, the verification process for these income limits is becoming more stringent, and the new rules will require additional documentation that many seniors aren't prepared for. What makes this even more urgent is that Sassa has been experiencing technical difficulties with their online systems, making it harder for beneficiaries to stay informed about these changes. Many seniors are finding out about payment delays and new requirements only when they arrive at collection points, causing unnecessary stress and confusion. These aren't minor administrative adjustments, they're fundamental changes to how the system operates, and they'll determine whether you continue receiving your full grant amount without interruption. The government has hinted at both positive developments, like potential grant increases, and challenging new compliance requirements that could temporarily suspend payments for those who aren't prepared. If this information is valuable to you or someone you care about, please hit that like button right now to help us reach more South African seniors who need to know about these crucial changes before July arrives. Now let me tell you exactly what's happening with these July 2025 changes and why every single word of this video could save you from financial disaster. I've been tracking Sassa updates for years, and I can honestly say that what's coming this July is unlike anything we've seen before. The government isn't just tweaking the system, they're completely overhauling how they verify beneficiaries and process payments. And if you're not prepared, you could find yourself without your grant money for weeks or even months. Let's start with something that happened just last month that shows you exactly how serious these changes are. The May 2025 payment was postponed to Tuesday, May 6, creating an unusual 5-week gap between payments that could strain household budgets. Imagine waiting 5 weeks for money you depend on for groceries, medication, and basic living expenses. That's exactly what thousands of seniors experienced, and it was just a preview of what could happen if you're not ready for the July changes. But here's where it gets really concerning. The May delay wasn't just about scheduling. It was connected to the new biometric verification system that Sassa started implementing. The primary concern for old age grant beneficiaries for May 2025 payments is the implementation of Sassa biometric verification starting 5 May 2025, which could delay scheduled payments beyond the usual timeframe and lead to grant reversals for those who fail ID verification on payment days. This means that if your fingerprints don't match their system perfectly, or if there's any technical glitch, your payment could be reversed on the spot, leaving you empty-handed after waiting in line for hours. Now, you might be thinking that this biometric system is just a one-time thing, but you'd be wrong. The July changes are expanding this verification process significantly. Every beneficiary is going to face stricter identity checks, and the margin for error is practically zero. I've spoken to seniors who've been receiving grants for years without any problems, only to suddenly find their payments blocked because the new system flagged their information as inconsistent. What makes this situation even more stressful is that Sassa has been having serious technical difficulties with their online systems. When you try to check your status online or update your information, you often get error messages or the website simply doesn't load. This isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous because it means you can't verify your information or fix problems before payment day. You end up discovering issues only when you arrive at the collection point, and by then it's often too late to resolve them quickly. The income verification process is becoming incredibly strict, and this is where many people are going to run into trouble. Remember, if you're single, your monthly income cannot exceed R7,190, and for married couples, it's R14,380 combined. But the new rules require you to prove this income threshold with much more documentation than before. We're talking about bank statements, pension fund statements, any informal income you might receive from family members, and even proof of rental income if you have boarders or rent out a room. Now, here's something that's particularly worrying for many families. If your children occasionally send you money, or if you do any small side work like selling vegetables or doing domestic work, you now need to document all of this income. Sassa's new system is cross-referencing information from multiple government departments, including the South African Revenue Service and the Department of Home Affairs. They're catching inconsistencies that would have slipped through before, and they're treating any undeclared income as fraud, even if it was an honest mistake. The documentation requirements are also expanding beyond just income verification. You need to have your ID document, proof of residence, that's no more than 3 months old, and now they're requiring additional proof of your living situation. If you live with family members, you might need affidavits explaining your living arrangements. If you're married, you need proof of your spouse's income and assets. If you own any property, even if it's just a small plot of land in a rural area that doesn't generate income, you need documentation proving its value. But there's another layer to this that many people don't realize. The government has been updating the asset limits as well. While the income thresholds have stayed the same, they're now looking more carefully at what assets you own. If you have a vehicle worth more than a certain amount, if you have savings accounts that exceed specific limits, or if you own property beyond your primary residence, this could affect your eligibility. The problem is that these asset limits aren't always clearly communicated, and many seniors don't realize that something they've owned for years could suddenly disqualify them. Banking details are another critical area where the new rules are causing problems. To update your payment method, follow the complete process of Change Banking Details, Sassa. This step makes sure Sassa has your correct banking details to avoid delayed payments. If your banking information isn't exactly correct in their system, your payment will be delayed or could even be sent to the wrong account. The new verification system is much less forgiving of small discrepancies like slight differences in how your name appears on your ID versus your bank account. What's particularly frustrating is that Sassa's communication about these changes has been inconsistent. Different offices are giving different information, and the official website often doesn't have the most current updates. Some seniors are being told they need to reapply completely, while others are told they just need to update their information. Some are being asked for documents that others aren't, creating confusion and anxiety throughout the system. The timing of these changes is also problematic. July is right in the middle of winter for many parts of South Africa, when elderly people are already dealing with higher expenses for heating and warm clothing. It's also the time when many people are dealing with flu season and increased medical expenses. Having your grant payments disrupted during this period could create serious hardship. Let me tell you about the appeals process, because if your grant is suspended or denied due to these new rules, you'll need to know how to fight back. The appeals process has also become more complex and time-consuming. You have 30 days to appeal a decision, but getting the proper forms and submitting them correctly can take weeks. During this time, you won't receive any payments, which means you could go 2 months or more without your grant money while the appeal is processed. The real tragedy is that many of the people who will be most affected by these changes are those who can least afford to deal with bureaucratic complications. Rural seniors who don't have easy access to internet or photocopying facilities, elderly people who struggle with paperwork due to vision problems or limited literacy, and those who don't have family members who can help them navigate the system. Here's what I find most concerning about the July changes. They're happening at the same time that the cost of living is increasing dramatically. The recent VAT increases have effectively cancelled out the R130 grant boost that was supposed to help seniors cope with inflation. So just when people need their grants most, the system is becoming more difficult to navigate and more likely to result in payment interruptions. The government says these changes are necessary to prevent fraud and ensure that grants go to the people who truly need them. While that's a worthwhile goal, the implementation is causing tremendous stress and hardship for legitimate beneficiaries who've done nothing wrong except struggle to keep up with constantly changing requirements and increasingly complex bureaucracy. This is why staying informed and preparing ahead of time isn't just helpful, it's absolutely essential for protecting your financial security and peace of mind during these challenging times.